All right, come join Kyle, John, and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many hosts with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the royal flush to John's straight flush to Dave's. You're gonna have to fold, my man. How did I do with my poker face?
My poker face, my poker face. Yeah. All right. We are going to be talking about Poker Face. Not too, even though it was set in a casino, not too much poker. We didn't get to really see the big action at the end because some people died along the way, so we had to figure that out first. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the new, not really a whodunit or a howdunit. It's a whole different kind of mystery in Poker Face, the Peacock series. Plus, we got a bunch of quick checks, a lot of Oscar movies to talk about and do quick checks on. But first, we have this segment, and John, what is it?
In and Out points.
In or the out. In or the out. In, out.
Yes, it is in and out points. Let's start off with something we talked about initially back in June. It was in episode 389, and we discussed how Netflix was turning their Squid Game series into a reality series for 456 contestants to play for a $4.56 million cash prize.
Nothing could go wrong.
What could go wrong? Nothing could go wrong. There's no reason for anything to go wrong. Well, would it surprise anything that some stuff has gone wrong? According to The Sun, contestants felt unwell and experienced frostbite after playing the game Red Light, Green Light, in which they have to remain motionless to win for hours. The show is currently shooting in the UK, and temperatures had dropped below freezing during the shoot. The Sun also spoke to some players already eliminated from the show, and they said, quote, some people couldn't move their feet because it was so cold. You could hear someone yell medic, and the crew would rush on. We ended up standing there for 30 minutes between takes. So we got a lot to break down with this, but initial thoughts, John, surprised?
I mean, kind of surprised that, 2023 and we'd allow people to, do something like this, like the PR nightmare alone. You'd think someone on set would be like, all right, let's bring hand warmers or at least something. But on the other hand, isn't that the whole point of Squid Games, is to make people demean themselves for money? I'm not surprised that Netflix would just say, whatever, who cares? Really?
I see two sides to this because it's obviously a very complicated issue. Obviously, one, you could always say, well, hey, they signed up for a show called Squid Game. They know what they were getting themselves into. But at the same time, they also expect with a production like Netflix, we're not really going to be put in harm's way. Like when you sign up for, Survivor, of course you sign your kind of life away, anything could happen. But it's still a TV production. There's a lot of lawyers on set, and I wonder if a show with 456 contestants, maybe that's too many contestants to really keep an eye on and make sure everyone's okay.
I'm sure they weren't expecting bodily harm in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch the show, and there's bodily harm, but this isn't a show. I mean, it is a show, but you know what I mean. It's real life filming for a show, so I think you would be reasonably okay, assuming, and read the contract before you sign it, that you wouldn't be put in some adverse conditions like this, but at least not for a very long, not prolonged amount of time to cause harm.
I gotta be honest, I don't feel bad for them at all. I mean,
that's the Kyle I know and love.
What did you knew what you were getting into when you signed up for it, right? It was based on a show where people were shot.
Yeah, but
so you got cold, but you're going for $4.56 million. So I mean,
yeah, and I know all the legalese, but honestly, I'm more for this because if you're silly enough to sign up for something like this, then yeah, I mean you should get what is coming to you, you know?
Yeah. It's I also feel like there's a little bit of like you kind of expect this kind of reporting that like any minor
Yeah.
injury would make the news because of the context of the show. I mean, people all the time need medical attention on like Survivor or even Big
Yeah.
Brother. Like, but nobody
Yeah,
hears
but
about Big Brother because, well, it's just them sitting in the house. So it's like, okay, yeah, someone broke their leg. Okay, that's happened. Like that's happened in the house, but like it's
Mhm.
not news like this. But because it's a show that literally killed people in the fictional version, like, of
Mhm.
course, they're going to talk about any injury, and the injuries are like supposedly okay. Fewer than 5 players have required medics on the set. One contestant is believed to have injured their shoulder after accidentally running into a wall.
yeah,
Not sure how that
see,
happened.
that sounds like normal, but like frostbite's not an accident.
Yeah,
Like well ahead of time, like, hey,
Yeah.
something's wrong. Like that's where I would say I wouldn't expect that. Someone running into a wall and dislocating a shoulder, breaking an arm, tripping and scraping open a leg or something. That sounds appropriate for what's going on. Assuming it's some kind of
yeah.
game show with some physicality, but frostbite's not an accident. It's not like oops, like it just happened. Like
Especially the thing I will go and give the contestants credit for is like they said, like we ended up standing there for 30 minutes between takes. It's like that's a whole other thing where it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's a
you're
different
playing a
thing.
game. Okay, stop,
Yeah.
start, stop, start. But when it's a TV show, it's like, hang on, there's a medic. Okay, you're gonna have to all stay in place for 30 minutes and then we can start over again.
Yeah.
It's like that's inhumane.
Yeah. I
mark your
agree with
spot,
that.
move around,
Yeah.
Yeah.
make sure the blood's flowing,
Yeah.
huddle up, whatever you got to do. But yeah,
Mhm.
that kind of sucks.
Yeah. So Netflix and producer said, quote, while it was very cold on set, participants were prepared for that. Any claims of serious injury are untrue. We care deeply about the health and safety of our cast and crew and invested in all the appropriate safety procedures. Now, I don't know for sure because obviously we're not there, we're not seeing how they're filming it. I saw in the article, I believe that they're filming this like in an airplane hangar. So it's not like necessarily like outside. So it's like I don't know what kind of heating
Well,
situation you could have had,
yeah,
maybe inside the hangar, at least set up in the case it got really, really cold. Like, but
that's a
Uh,
tough one. A big concrete
yeah.
and metal building like
yeah,
that, I don't think
Yeah.
you'll be able to
yeah,
keep heat inside. I mean, you'll keep the wind out, which is important, but
yeah.
um, I don't know. So you're saying that there are alleged frostbites then, if they're denying serious injury, like
I mean, again, the reporting is from the Sun, so we got to take everything with a
fair,
grain of salt. And
fair.
Yeah.
but then again, Netflix obviously has to do their legal mumbo jumbo as well.
Mhm.
Um, I will say this is a slight spoiler for anyone who wants to watch the reality
Uh-oh.
show.
Uh-oh.
Completely unspoiled. But for round one, after starting with 456 contestants, we are believed to have gone down to 228. So we've already dropped down to 228 who've made it through the first hurdle. So
So I'm gonna say the frostbite wasn't too bad, and this
yeah.
is a blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Or it took out half the contestants.
Yeah, frostbite.
Yeah. It wasn't like, yeah, like at least 5. It's like 5 or like 50, 500, like how many? But all right, that is everything going on with Squid Game. I'm sure when that actually ends up premiering, we'll talk about that reality version of it. Let's talk about some awards. 2 weeks ago, we discussed the SAG, the PGA, the DGA noms, and last week we went really in depth on the Oscar nominations. But finally, we have the final like main guild to discuss, and that's the Writers Guild. So the Writers Guild of America, they have original and adapted screenplays, so we can talk about what made the cut there. And for original, we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, The Menu, Nope, and Tar. And then for adapted, we have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, She Said, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. So, any surprises you see, Kyle? Any big things? I got some differences, but
Well, yeah,
any...
there are quite a few differences I'm just noticing, right? Nope is in there that I don't think was in the other one, so that's getting some love here.
The menu as well,
The
right?
Yeah.
menu,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I like the menu, but yeah, I don't know. I still have to see the Fablemans, but It is an interesting list, and I always like some change ups. It makes it feel more interesting to me. So
It's certainly going to make things harder for us when we end up predicting them later on, and not having
yeah,
the precursors there. But yeah, you mentioned some of the changes. There's really 4 differences from Tuesday's Oscar nominations, and this is actually due to possibly eligibility, because some of these movies are not eligible. So you have The Menu and Nope. They made it in at the WGA, not at the Oscars, but they made it in over films like Banshees of Inisherin and
mm,
Triangle of Sadness. So those
mm,
were nominated at the Oscars. They're not nominated here. They weren't eligible. And
mm.
then for adapted screenplay, Wakanda Forever and She Said, they made it in over All Quiet on the Western Front and Living. Again, neither eligible. So you have some pretty big players like Banshees and
Yeah.
All Quiet that just are not seen here because they just weren't eligible. So yeah. So
Yeah, that's yeah.
but it does like open up, some ones like Nope. Like probably Nope should have probably been in the maybe Oscar
Yeah.
conversation just in
Mm,
general,
mm.
for to be completely shut out of the Oscars is crazy, but at least it's getting some love here. Same with, The Menu and some of the other movies we've talked about. But I really want to now go into kind of like where we stand with everything all together. I took out some Excel and I made a little graph here you can see on Twitch and on YouTube where we stand with the guilds and the Oscars and the BAFTAs. And I just picked some of the main things, at least I felt like were important. So I have from left to right, I have pretty much, did it get a DGA nom, a SAG nom, an ensemble, the WGA nom, the BAFTA Best Film nom, an Oscar nom for Best Director, an Oscar nom for Best Screenplay, and then also an Oscar for Best Film Editing, because that's usually a big award. And if you can kind of see with the colors there, green is if they got it, red, they weren't eligible to even get that award. But I think we've said for a while, it's
Yeah.
between the Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And
Yeah, and probably the second tier is the
yeah,
Fablemans and
yeah,
Tar. It looks
yeah,
like so.
yeah,
It's gonna be tough, but I still think the way that things are rolling, it's either gonna be Banshees or Everything Everywhere.
yeah. Yeah, and for me, I think like I'm gonna go on a slight limb. Yeah, and you said it's like Fableman's is a slightly lower tier. I will say, like, I think overall it's polling lower just in general, because for a while it was those three. It was those three,
Mm-hmm.
but like it had a poor BAFTA showing. It really just got
Mm-hmm.
one nomination at the BAFTAs total. Like that's it. And it wasn't even for best film. And then had no film editing Oscar nom, and that's usually a big precursor. You got to have that usually to win. Coda was an exception to that rule. But if anything, looking at the nominations, I think Tar is actually looking better.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it got everything everywhere all at once got. It got everything Banshees got, except for that SAG ensemble nomination. But I think you could argue it's not really on an ensemble
Yeah.
film. It's that major performance by Cate Blanchett, and that was
Mm-hmm.
nominated.
Yeah.
So it's got, green across the board there. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
though, Avatar: The Way of Water, it's not looking good. Not looking good for Avatar. But I think I was just happy to get a Best Picture nom at this
Yeah.
point.
Probably at this point, with the way it's tracking, is probably just happy to get with what it did. Even though if we probably asked James Cameron, he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Why? Why
Mhm.
didn't I get more?"
Yeah. So I did forget to include one big award, John. It looks like we're cutting it off. We got it in last night. Top Gun Maverick actually got the coveted Best Picture
Wow.
award at the AARP's Movies for Grown Up Award.
Yeah, baby.
So the Movies for
Put
Grown Ups
the
Awards.
put those 80-year-olds in those 4D seats and woo.
AARP's dishing out awards. We got to talk about them. It's right up there with DGA and the Oscars and
Yep.
BAFTA. So, all right. I will say, not that Letterbox means anything, but I was like, oh, let me look at like user scores, and it's like it's still at the top of the list. It's the Banshees of Inisherin and Everything Everywhere. Like those are still the 2 top films.
Mm,
And then if you go like, okay, let me look at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, again, across the board, I feel like it's a good group of
mm-hmm.
nominees this year,
Yeah.
because like they're all fresh. At least they're all fresh movies. Last year I think we certainly had lower ones. I think like Don't Look Up was even like rotten,
Mm-hmm.
but okay, they're mostly all 90s except for Avatar, Elvis, and what is that Triangle of Sadness. They're in
Yeah.
the 70s. But yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think it's a good batch overall. And what I've seen so far, I have enjoyed the film. So yeah, it's been a good batch.
And we'll talk about a few of them later on in the podcast when we get to quick checks. But I have like one more like awards type in and out point, a little update from last week. Because last week we talked about how Andrea Riseborough, she got a surprise Best Actor nomination for the very small indie film To Leslie. It grossed only $27,000 at the box office. It was a very limited release schedule. And according to Puck News, Mary McCormick, who is the wife of the director of To Leslie, she reached out to members of the Academy's Actors Branch, begging them to see the little watched film and post it online about how much they loved it. And days later, dozens of influential stars saying the film's praises with some tweets that we discussed, all saying the exact same thing. So, of course, raised some suspicions, to say the least. Well, while not directly naming Andrea directly, the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences issued a statement on Friday acknowledging it is looking into the matter. Quote, it is the Academy's goal to ensure that the awards competition is conducted in a fair and ethical manner, and we are committed to ensuring an inclusive awards process. We are conducting a review of the campaign procedures around this year's nominees to ensure that no guidelines were violated and to inform us whether changes to the guidelines may be needed in a new era of social media and digital communication.
Well, I mean, it's no secret that campaigning is happening all the time when it comes to these things. I think it's just so silly the way it was done here, because it's like, at least switch it up, give them a couple of options,
use a
templates
synonym
to go with. But like, when it's all the same thing, it's so obvious and egregious. It's like, what are we doing here? It's silly.
Yeah, so I have some of the like rules that they're kind of looking into, and we can discuss some of the evidence they may have. They're looking into lobbying rules because, quote, contacting Academy members directly and in a manner outside the scope of these rules to promote a film or achievement for Academy Award consideration is expressly forbidden. And then there's also another rule about referencing other nominees. So, quote, ads, mailings, websites, social media, including Facebook and Twitter, or other forms of public communication by anyone directly associated with an eligible film attempting to cast a negative or derogatory light on a competing film will not be tolerated. In particular, any tactic that singles out the competition by name or title is expressly forbidden. And there's been some other posts, like, in addition to all those tweets that we laughed at last week, there was a post from the film's official Instagram account that quoted Richard Ropert's blurb from his like top 10 films of 2022. And it states, quote, as much as I admired Blanchett's work in Tar, my favorite performance by a woman this year was delivered by the chameleon-like Andrea Riseborough in director Michael Morris's series. Like, so it's like, like you took this line saying like, yeah, as much as Tar is that and Kate Blanchett, this one is the better performance. And you use that on your official, Instagram account. That's not good.
Yeah.
And then there's another one from Frances Fisher, who's an actress. When posting her vocal Riseborough post, she tagged 20 members of the Actors Branch, like Cher, Glenn Close, Alec Baldwin, all these actors, and said in another post, to my fellow actors in the Academy, Andrea Riseborough can secure an Oscar nomination if 218 out of the 1,300 actors in the Actors Branch nominate her in first position for Best Actress. Seems to me that Viola, Michelle, Danielle, and Kate are a lock for their outstanding work. So it's like, oh, she complimented all these Viola and Kate and all these people on their great work, but it's like, don't worry about them. Put my person in first, and then like,
yeah.
And also, they weren't locks, unfortunately. As we saw with the nominations, they weren't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this sounds like stuff that is probably going down, behind closed doors, and like saying, hey, you come work on this project or my project, and I'll help push whatever your way. But this is just so, in the age of social media, yeah, they gotta update their rules as to what is, lobbying and all this stuff.
I will say in the film's defense, this Francis Fisher review is tough because this person isn't really associated with the film. So this would be like just some other actor saying this stuff. So unless they said specifically say this, like this is just somebody saying this. So like at the end of the day, if you worked on, I don't know, Avatar: The Way of Water, and you just started, actually not even that. If you were working on Avatar and you were talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once and saying that was a better film than blank, you can't blame the Everything Everywhere All at Once team because it's not their fault. It was an Avatar folk, that said it. So like same with this, like this person's not involved with 2 Leslie, so you can't blame 2 Leslie for this one.
Yeah.
So, oh boy, they still got to figure a lot of stuff out though. It's very very fishy, all of it. And
but yeah, going back to the original like posting and all that with Twitter, it's like, can PR people, can we think of more than one way to say this if we're gonna make it this obvious? It's just so bad.
But it's true. It's a small film with a giant heart. Andrea Riseborough gives this just the performance of the year. They're all
sure.
incredible. What a gem.
What a gem. What a
gem.
All right. Well, that is it for our Oscar coverage for now. We're going to have plenty more to say, I am sure, before the ceremony on March 12th on ABC. Hopefully, we're going to be joined in late February, early March for our annual Oscar predictions with the good, the bad, and the watchable. And I will say, speaking of them, it's just last week where we recorded a very special 90-minute special draft episode. So if you haven't listened to it yet, it's in their feed. Check it out. We draft our most anticipated films from 2023. It was a fun time had by all. So check that out. All right, let's now move to what we're talking about tonight, the main show. In order to talk about it, send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
I think it was a good one, but I heard last week's episode and you were way off. I'll just say that.
Did you put it on the end? Is that
You'll
what you
see.
said here?
Someone's clearly not listening to the show weekly.
Okay.
But we're talking about Poker Face, the series premiere, Dead Man's Hand. It dropped on Peacock on January 26th. And this is stylized as a Case of the Week series. This murder mystery is from Ryan Johnson and stars Natasha Lyonne as Charlie Cale, a casino worker on the run who entangles herself into several mysterious deaths of strangers along the way. Now, each episode adapts kind of the How Catch 'em format popularized by classic shows like Columbo. So it's an interesting thing. It's kind of like an anthology series. So you can pretty much watch one in, I guess a kaleidoscope. You could do it in any order, maybe. I don't know. But each one, it has its own mystery. It's not a whodunit or how done it. It's pretty much, how do they, like, I guess, how can she figure it out?
How solve it.
Yeah, how solve it. John, what did you think of Poker Face?
I enjoyed it. I thought that the characters were all well suited for their roles. I mean, I don't think we're breaking any new ground with anybody's character in these, but like, from an acting perspective, but they all played their parts pretty well. I was kind of surprised at how efficient the show was. Like, it got all the points it needed to in the right order, pretty rapid fire. I mean, it was an hour long, so it wasn't a short show, but I could easily see with a little movie fluff this being a full-length movie potentially. I mean, you could extrapolate it out another half hour and have a 90-minute feature if you wanted to, and I think it would still work. But other than that, it was pretty good. I was interested in watching another one. I didn't have time to, but it was good.
Yeah, it does feel like a movie. Like it has even like the title cards at the start, and there's a lot of care put into this. And I think, each one of these, it's like a Black Mirror. Each one could be its own little mini movie. And they could probably expand it out and have a whole franchise. But no, we're getting it as a series. Kyle, what did you think of Poker Face?
I thought it was good. I definitely enjoyed the performances. I love Adrian Brody. I thought he was really good. Natasha Lyonne does that. I feel like that character
It's the
she
same
does it,
character.
but
Natasha Lyonne as Natasha Lyonne.
yeah, but I mean, it works, and it works within this show. I had no idea what the show was like going in, so I was sitting there thinking like, "Oh my gosh, how are they going to
They're
do all
burning
this?"
through a
So
lot.
they're burning
Mhm.
through everything. I was like, "How is this going to work?" But um, it seems like there will be some kind of through
Yeah.
line there. But it will be interesting to see. And based on the cast that I saw on IMDb, it looks like they've got some heavy hitters. So it's not going to be like your Law and Order. Who's this person? It's
How
going to be
dare
some
you?
like legit people coming in, which I think is going to make it more worthwhile when we talk about like kind of like an episodic like this. So
Yeah. I definitely think, I mean, a lot of it probably comes down to, I mean, Ryan Johnson. Obviously, he's the writer, director of this. He's a producer of this, creator. It's the mind of him, and he
mhm.
does great murder mysteries, whether it's Knives Out or Glass Onion. This is his bread and butter. And so you got this, Ryan Johnson stylized aspect of it, but you also get the star power that he brings, like in a
Mhm.
movie like Knives Out, because it's like a lot of people just probably just want to work with Johnson. Like it's just I want to be a part of this. I
Yeah.
want to be in this world. But then also for most of them, it's a 1 episode commitment. So you could also get these big stars. Yeah, I'll sign
Yeah.
on for whatever a
Yeah.
week and make 1 episode and get a guest actor Emmy or something. Like it's easy. I'll do this. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to that, and you get all the like details that Ryan Johnson is like known for, all the like little nuggets of like of a murder mystery. I mean, we're gonna spoil the first episode, but kind of she figures it all out, and it's funny because everything, as John said, was efficiently timed out and set up in this 1 hour, where it wasn't like on the top, like on the nose type stuff, but she figures it out with like a small mention early on about some like cloud photo dick pic issue.
The Dick Cloud, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and figured it out kind of like based off of this one little nugget throwaway line. And then we also see her, watching this surveillance video where he walked, the abusive husband walked out of the casino with the metal detector not going off. It was the green light instead of the red light. So it's like
Mhm.
little details like that, Gus brings it to like the Columbo monologue at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say they did set this up really well. But I almost thought it
Mhm.
was just going to be like a more obvious thing, because like there's a point when this security breach at the casino is happening, and she's like, "Oh, he has a gun on his leg," and like she sees him like grab the gun, so it's like, oh, she saw him grab the gun, so she
Yeah.
knows that. But like that's not really part of it. It was like the
Yeah.
surveillance stuff that was more
Yeah.
like she figured it out. That was, yeah, it wasn't the smoking gun, I guess.
Yeah.
They
I
should have
will.
had her say, "Oh, the gun," and then duck behind a table or something, so she couldn't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was very. Everything was there. You just had to find. You had to put it together.
I will say her character being able to tell if somebody is lying or not can make up for a
Oh yeah.
flaws
It's a
in,
magic
in
power.
yeah.
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 But yeah, and these shows definitely have the comedy still. Like I liked at the end when she
Mhm.
sends the photo to the local police station. She's like, "Wait a minute, they could be like in cahoots with the casino. Let me add the FBI and CIA just to be
Yeah.
sure."
Mhm.
And then it was like, "Wait a minute, they also might be corrupt." So then she
Yeah.
adds Oprah, and it's just
Oprah,
like that
yeah.
was a funny like these are the 4 people on this email chain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is an interesting setup because Kyle, you mentioned that there is like this arc to it. Like, unlike
Mhm.
most procedurals, it seems like, well, there is a murder mystery of the week. There's still going to be like this overarching arc with kind of Adrian Brody's dad character, who's the casino owner that she, I guess, got, a slap on the wrist earlier on, got some help, and is okay until she financially ruins this casino and now is on the dad's hit list again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there's something on with this high roller that comes in, and there's something on the tape or something in the room. Something's going on.
I think
yeah,
they teased that with the
yeah,
intro with the child pornography reports on the
Yeah,
news,
yeah,
and so that kind of wraps it all together. I think as to
yeah,
what she saw and why she's trying to report it. So
yes,
yeah, yeah, and it's also a pro and a con of this show, where obviously every week they have like a harder task to set up a whole new world and characters. Like, will you even care for these people? Like, because you're not spending that much time with most of them. But that's also a pro at the same time, because it's like, well, if you don't like this mystery, it's okay. Next week a new one's coming, or the next episode has a whole new thing. It's just like pretty much you just need to like Natasha Lyonne. If you don't like Natasha Lyonne, she's the only real through line in this. So that's the only returning character, really. At least it seems so far. But I guess like one little nitpick I want to ask you guys. I need more info on how she got out of a fourth story window. I mean, I saw her with the fire extinguisher, but am I supposed to believe that she used that as some kind of like jetpack expulsion thing? Because
I don't know.
It was clear, like she went through the stairwell. It said 4. She went to a room. She went out of a window, and then she's like, just seems walking around later. I'm like, wait a minute, you want to be limping? You want to be, I don't know, a broken leg? Like,
maybe
what
like
happened
a
here?
Canopy, or like, that's the third floor extension, like on there or something.
I think I needed that shot. I think I needed the explanation, but. Or just seeing her zip around on a fire extinguisher jetpack. That would just be a cool visual.
Float down to earth on her fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Be like Gravity all over again.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, any other thoughts on Poker Face? You guys gonna keep going with it?
Yeah, I think so. Keep poking at it and see what we get.
Yeah, I might if check back in every now and again. I don't know if it's at the top of my list. I thought it was well done, but I don't know if it's like enough to keep up with it weekly. But it's okay. I think it's good. I think it's worth checking out. And if you're into the vibe, for sure, go with it. But I might be in and out.
Yeah, because I'd say I definitely liked it, and I would definitely watch more of it. I just don't know if it feels like appointment TV, just because of the nature of like the mystery of the week. Sure, there is like this overarching arc, but like I don't know, like there wasn't like a real, I gotta watch the next one right now because it is going to be a whole new mystery. It's going to be a whole new thing.
Yeah,
it almost feels like, oh, yeah, I gotta restart every week, and it's just I kind of like the continuous like, The Last of Us. Okay, started here, ended here, started there, started here, ended there. Like but. All right, so that is Poker Face. We got some time tonight. We could probably go a little bit more in depth on these quick checks, but we'll still play the jingle anyways.
Quick check.
We should like slow it down one time to quick check somewhere.
Can I do that on the fly? I don't know.
I don't know. It's all good. Let's start off with something. If you are like me and you might have signed up for Peacock to watch Poker Face, there's another movie you can watch on Poker Face or on Peacock. They should call it whatever. It's called Tar, and it's an Oscar-nominated film. It's up for 6 Oscars, including Best Picture. It was just released on Peacock, even though it came out in theaters on October 7th. And this one is set in the international world of classical music, and the film centers on Lydia Tarr, played by Cate Blanchett, who's widely considered one of the greatest living composer-conductors and at the very first female director of the major German orchestra. So she's a big deal. She's an EGOT winner. The whole film is about Lydia Tarr, and obviously she is the subject of this. And I will say, it's a slow build. I went in knowing nothing about this, and it took a while for me to kind of get a feel for the movie. Like, what is going on? What are we supposed to take from this? And there are some very impressive long one-take moments. Like, these scenes are like these long one-takes, and there's a couple that will pay off later, specifically why they are long takes in the second half, which I thought was very strong. And I got to be very vague with this because I feel like saying too much would give away really what the film has to say and what the film is about. But I just think it's about a very powerful person, maybe either getting more powerful or less. I'll leave it at that. It's either one or the other. But yeah, by the end I really liked it, and it's one I'm still thinking about after the fact, and like there's a lot of details, a lot of background stuff that is like, oh, they're setting that up, and maybe on a second watch you will see things differently. But I don't think this film, I think, will be not for everyone. I think there's going to be some people that are going to be turned off by how slow it is, especially at first. maybe to some maybe pretentious, but I think there's some stuff here, and I think a lot of it comes down to Kate Blanchett. I mean, we've heard it all award season. Oh, she's sweeping these awards. Is she really good? Yeah, she's really good. She's good at this. She's really good. So I could see it, so
I will say the description doesn't
yeah,
entice,
yeah.
like doesn't fuel me to want to watch it. I know a lot of people have been loving it. But I got to check it out, but I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
man.
And it's a very specific character where there's moments where it's like, oh, are you supposed to feel sympathy for her, or are you supposed to be kind of like angered by her? Like there's, and I think and I think that's what will depend on like the viewer of this, like, and if you like the film, like if you're turned off by certain things, yeah, you will hate this film, but if you are okay with other things, you might like this. So I think you're either gonna like it or not really care for it. I don't think you'll just be like, oh, it's okay. I think it's one or the other, but we'll have to wait and see. I liked it. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I might be, depending on the day, I could have maybe been talked into a 4.5, maybe 4.25.
Can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Can't do that. But Kyle, you saw another Oscar nominated movie. I did a quick check on it back in episode 399, I believe. But you're doing one tonight on Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis. Oh man. So the first half of this movie, I just kept shaking my head because it was everything. Like
Everywhere, all at once.
I enjoy Baz Luhrmann, but it was like to the max. It was just so over the top. And then that's where we get like the modern day pop culture music. And then in the second half of the movie, I really, really started to like it. I felt like it came back down to earth. It was actually rooted in something. We started to get like some real emotion in Elvis and the pain that he was kind of going through, and how this colonel is a real jerk. And so I think the second half of the movie for me saved it. But it's like all the tropes that Baz Luhrmann was using in the beginning of the film just go away. So that's what they end up being, is just like these one-off things. Like these pop culture music doesn't even make an appearance in the second half of the movie, at least not that I recall. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like the second half. Wasn't so into the over the top first half. Also, when it feels like, I mean, maybe this is what they were also going for, is like Elvis is stealing his music from, black artists and all this stuff. And it's just like, all right, let's celebrate that, I guess. Or maybe he's just bringing awareness to this. I don't know. But, but still, Elvis got jobbed, man. You got absolutely screwed. You feel horrible for him. And I'm glad that the movie in the second half definitely gets like rooted down in something. Otherwise, I feel like this could have just been a film that was just a waste, especially with how good Austin Butler, I think, really is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we made our jokes last week about the permanent voice that Austin Butler has from his Elvis training, but yeah, he does really go all out in this performance. And even still, like, as much as he can do that, it's like there was points still where it's like there's points where I'm like, okay, I see Elvis, and then other points I don't, and it's because Elvis is such like a distinct character, a person. It's just very hard to recreate someone like that. And I agree with you with a lot of it. I think I remember from like my review was like one of my issues was like the pace and how the story was told. Like there were some big moments that we like kind of just flew by, like. And
there was like 5 years, I think, he went by in one.
Yeah, and like we like skated completely past, I feel like, the mom's death, who was like a central figure for the first third of the movie. Like, and it was just like, oh, nope, no more, not a character. And I just remember, there was like some point where like it was like, oh, some 7-picture movie deal, and then later he's on NBC and everyone knows his name, but then they're like talking about like, well, everybody know his name tomorrow. It's like, wait, what? Like everything felt like it was out of order at points. Like this hasn't happened yet, but we just felt like it was a month. Like it was very
Well, it was a montage to show like how big of a star he had become, but then in the next instance, he's a wash up and a
Yeah.
has been who's been doing these crappy movies. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely segued to make
Yeah,
it toward the end of his career when things were not going
because I
well.
just remember it's like, yeah, he got this movie deal, but then he's like, when he's on NBC, he's like, well, everybody will know his name tomorrow. It's like, well, yeah, they'll know his name when those 7 picture movies came out. When he did
Yeah.
like, it's like it was very just confusing, like just the whole pace and the montage and like what they decided. But that's a Boz film. That's the cuts and the camera flips and the star wipes. I'm sure
Mhm.
that were probably in there. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot, and obviously Tom Hanks does his House of Gucci performance of whatever he was doing, and
Yeah.
but all right.
No DNA was rewritten for Tom Hanks.
I don't think so. I think he will be fine with the next movie doing a new voice. But all right, Kyle, you have another movie I think you saw on this one on Netflix.
Yes. So I saw All Quiet on the Western Front, and let me tell you, I love this movie. God, is it brutal? I mean, it makes you feel like it makes you feel a lot of things, but the realism, as far as I can tell, with the trench warfare, everything that I know about that, it just brings it to light. It's crazy, crazy, sad, brutal, gory, but I think in order to get across how terrible it is, I think it needs to be that gory so that you can see, and just the use of sound um, when the bombs are going off, and you're rooting for this main guy who just wants to get home with his like whole unit, and his whole unit is perishing around him, and he's just trying to make it to the end with this general that's is not realizing the pain that he's inflicting on millions of soldiers. It's just very, very sad. And it's yeah, but it's a good one. I really, really liked it. I give it 5 stars. It was one of my
Oh,
favorites. It was really, really good.
Hmm.
And the only thing I think that I can say that I didn't like about this was the music, but I think it was done on purpose. The music has like these stingers that come out of nowhere, and it's just like boom, like that, and they just come out of nowhere, and that's really the only music that I can remember in this whole movie, and I think it's to
okay,
show
Chris Nolan. Okay.
yeah, to bring in an effect, but it kind of took me out at moments. So
How would you, I guess, compare it? Because we've seen a lot of war films over the years, especially even just most recently, 1917.
I like it more than 1917.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard. I mean, obviously, you got so many Oscar and BAFTA nominations, but yeah, one thing I've heard is how brutal it is. But
Mm,
that's war, I guess. So I mean, I guess it's
yeah.
true to that. Is it true to that, or is it like over like glorifying it?
No, I think it's true to that.
Mm,
There's this that really intense scene where it's this one-on-one um kind of battle between two guys, and they're just trying to survive, and it's a long, lengthy scene, and you see the transformation that goes into the character from just trying to survive to hatred to, oh God, what have I done, to I'm now going to try and save this guy. And
mm,
it's all with the performance, but also just, yeah, I mean, this I think this book, which the movie is based on, was an anti-war book, and I think this could be showing the brutality and what these people faced, and the disregard by officers and higher ups to help out their soldiers is just, it says a lot. It's a brutal and I think necessary way.
mm. Interesting. All right, we're working our way through these Oscar nominated films. We've talked about a few throughout the year in podcasts, but I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about once we see more leading up to the Oscars. I have something completely different, still on Netflix, but it's a reality show. It's an interesting one too. It's called Pressure Cooker. The entire thing dropped on January 6th on Netflix, and it follows 11 chefs who will cook and cohabit with one another as they compete to become the ultimate chef's chef and win $100,000. So it's like a cooking show, like a Top Chef, mixed in with the strategy of Big Brother. So obviously, you had me at Big Brother. I'll check this out. Okay, let me check this out. I love my cooking shows. I love those as well. And it really is a mix of the two. And I think the hook in this, to kind of explain it a little bit better, is they judge each other's foods. So it's like, well, they could vote out the best chef, so then they are the best chef, but it's like some people just want to beat the best. And then you also each round get paired up with someone, or maybe you do a team challenge. So if you keep these weak players around, you may get paired up with them. And then if you lose, then you are up for elimination. So it's like, so you have to kind of play the game, you have to play the strategy, play to maybe a chef's strengths or, to their palate. But then there's other times where it's like they brought in like their family members and they didn't know who cooked what. So you got some family members like eviscerating like their cooking, and then other ones like praising their competition, and so they do change it up a little bit. It's not always they're like judging each other's foods, but it's whether it's their family or at the very end they have like these like critics come in. But for the most part, it's usually each other trying each other's foods. And there's some really great casting choices. I thought there were some villains, there were some heroes, there were some villains that like become heroes. So I thought they really found some good people, some good chefs, good mix of people to be in this pressure cooker scenario. And I will say like my one con, I guess, I wish there was like moments that could be a bit clearer with the rules of like what's going on. Cause like there'd be times where, on Big Brother, they do like the rules of a challenge and then immediately they cut to, so the object of this game is to, it's like they just explain it again for us idiots who like weren't paying attention. But I feel like with this, there's just times where they just don't say the rules. And then I'm like, wait, who's judging this? Or wait, how are they judging? Oh, wait, what's the time frame on this? Or, like what's going to, like, they kind of do a challenge. It's like, oh, how are they deciding who goes home? Well, this time we're going to do it this way. It's like, oh, I wish I knew that at the beginning, but
They can't give you like a lower third or something.
I guess. But no, it's just like the idea of like, okay, how is this like what's the object of this, and like how are they going to decide the winner? Like they might have said it, but like, well, what would happen if this happens? Like I have all those questions because I'm a reality TV like nerd of like, well, wait, this could mean this could happen, but like they don't explain it until it happens. But maybe on a second season, since I know the show a bit better, I could, because that's always the fun thing with these reality shows. Like you can kind of play along with them and be like, oh, that was a terrible decision, because they don't know that like next week there's going to be a team challenge or something. This one year I was kind of flying blind with them, but again, it's like I think it was only like 8 episodes. It's an easy binge. There's some cliffhanger moments. If you like cooking shows, there's some like legit cooking. There's stuff and I've never even heard of. And it's like, oh, they're making some legit meals. And interesting challenge. There was like a challenge where it's like, okay, this challenge it's like monochromatic. So like it all had to be green or all had to be blue. Like each person chose a color and that was it. That was on the plate. And
oh man.
Or like, well, it's a 5-course meal, and each 4 of the courses have to be the 4 seasons. So it's like one has to represent spring, fall, summer. This man. Like, so they have cool challenges with that. But
I want to know how long they get for thinking time on this, because they always have something like it needs to have a tire. You need to cook with this battery powered thing, and it's just like, dude, I would need a day's planning. They're like, oh yeah, I got this dish that my grandma made back in the day. What?
Well, tire a la mode, yes.
Yeah, it's just they always like on like guys' grocery games. It's like, okay, you have like 30 minutes, and like you have to cook and grocery shop and all this stuff. But on this one, it's like, okay, maybe you have like 45 minutes and like they're making like pasta from scratch and like doing all this stuff. And like, meanwhile, I can't even do like, I don't know, just like a box pasta in an hour. Like, I don't know how they can do it. Like I know John does the Hello Fresh and they always, I feel like, say on the bottom, prep time, 10 minutes, cooking time, 30 minutes. It's like,
No
you have
way.
to double both of
That's
those
always
to get
a
close.
lie. It's always a lie.
Either that or you got to fly by the seat of your pants and like, while you're doing one thing, you're cutting, tomatoes up whenever you have a few 3 seconds, like.
Yeah.
It's wild. But yeah, so that is Pressure Cooker. It was a fun watch on Netflix if you want to check it out. But oh man, that is actually it for this week. We kept it a tighter show this week. We got through a lot in a short amount of time because I think we're ready for our vacation. We're gonna be off next Monday, taking a week off, and we're gonna be back though February 13th. That'll be the day after the Super Bowl. So we'll talk about some of the commercials and the big movie trailers that'll drop through it. Maybe the halftime show. There's a lot of pop culture when it comes to the Super Bowl, so we'll break it all down the day after.
Can't wait for the new Super Mario trailer that they're gonna drop.
Oh, you're right. There's gonna be this is another thing. I'll do because we got time tonight. I'll do one of my pet peeves, which I'm sure I'll repeat in 2 weeks. There's gonna be a Breaking Bad trailer, or like a not trailer, a promo for like Popcorners chips. Okay, I'm excited for the Breaking Bad return.
Jesse,
but stop showing me all the teasers and the photos and the videos from it now. I don't want to watch an ad now on social media. I want to watch the ad during the game and be excited. Oh my God, that's Walt and Jesse.
No,
they got to do it now to get the clicks and the revenue.
Yeah, it's all those days are all gone. You got to build a campaign now, man.
It's just because now I have like less of a reason to watch the commercials. Oh, I'll just watch all the commercials the day before the game. I'm good.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what instance of what familial member nut is coming out. Is it going to be father, baby, uncle, cousin? You never know. It's a new one every year.
Well, here's my take. I think I don't know if you saw the Maya Rudolph. She's the now spokesperson for M&M's.
Yeah.
The timing of this change in spokesperson is odd. It's almost like it was 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. I wonder what will happen if those M&M candies are really gone forever. We'll never see them again. It's only going to be Maya Rudolph for the rest of our lives. Interesting.
Yeah.
But enough of that. That's just a tease of what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks. You could find these episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com, and of course, twitch.tv/doredundancy. We are live Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. Check it out then. And social media, make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram, and now our new TikTok channel. We're on TikTok now. We're getting some hits.
Boy.
I have to redo. I got to redo all the media, all the banners. All right. I think maybe this is my time to retire.
Yeah. Well, you're now a TikTok star, John. You are all over TikTok. So yeah, check us out at Dual Redundancy.
Yeah. Send the check in the mail, please.
Okay. Oh, I got lost. Sorry. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight, talking about all these different shows and movies and just being there for me. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, John, getting the show up on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. Couldn't do it without you guys.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.